So what happened was we ended up getting code violation for not having the space opened up. When I originally had this property, there was a 24-foot wide easement that had to be kept open for the property in the back, so that the person could have access to that. When we tried to change that, they told us that we would have to purchase the property in the back in order to get rid of the easement. Yes, we tried to get the easement out because there's a road access on the other side, but because the road access for that property is through a residential neighborhood, they won't allow that to be that road to be able to be used for that back property for the previous owner. So we weren't able to get the easement out. They told me that verbally though, that if you buy it, then you can remove the easement. When we've tried to remove the easement, they say no now. So I don't know if they've made this into a fire easement now or not. But I've been told by another fire chief marshal in the area, not from my district, and I won't say where, but it was within the Florida area, that said nobody, they would never drive a fire truck in here to fight if there was a fire. So they didn't understand themselves why they have to move all the plants from this area to create a fire easement, if that's what they've turned. I'd have to look at the site plan to see what they changed it to. When we first got here, they made me make what they call a site plan, which means you draw on the paper and say, I'm going to put this here, this truck here, this trailer here, the plants will be here. After we've sold our truck, we've sold the trailers that we were using in this point. And last time when they came in a couple of years ago, they said, where's the truck that was here? But we sold it. Well, you can't put plants there. You can only have a truck there.
So just update the site plan.
The problem is when you update stuff with the cities or the municipalities like that, they want you to do something else. It's kind of like when they're voting for something. Let's say they're trying to get just anything to vote in from the House, you know, from the Democrats, the Republicans, from each house to the next. They have to give up something to gain something. I mean, all the laws are like that now.
Yeah,
so if you want that guy to vote for this, that's in the office. Okay, well, you vote for this, but I want you to do this for me.
Yeah, right.
So they got to trade stuff. So what they're going to do that with me here. And I already know my issue is of light parking here, which we don't need any additional parking. But I know that they're probably going to hit me, well, okay, well, if you want to have that open, then you need to increase your parking. Increasing my parking does the same issue that I have now. It only allows me to use, I think we calculated this out to like 30-something% of the property, of this original property to use based on what they want for their stuff here, which really doesn't make sense. You can see the wooden poles there. We had shade cloths across there last year to try to cool the property down, and the fire marshal made me take that down. And I said, well, I don't understand why I have to take that down, because it's high enough to get underneath it if somebody had to drive underneath it or whatever. And he said, well, because if there was a fire in the other lot or a fire in the trailer next door, and an ember came and landed on top of the shade cloth, it could start a fire. And I said, well, if I go to Walmart, I could get into an accident and get killed, so do I not go to Walmart? We can't live our lives wondering what if all the time on something. The shade cloth actually reduces the temperature of the property down by about 10 degrees. When you'd walk underneath it, it was...
Yeah, it'd make it safer. It make it, well, because if the pots are under the shade cloth, then they're not melting because it drops the temperature.
Right, and they complained at one point about the wooden structure, saying, well, that could start on fire. Well, the stuff is soaking wet. There's mold growing on it. So there's no way that this stuff is going to start on fire unless the building was on fire. And it would have to take a lot for that to burn. Because my building is...
These are the wooden structures, but you can see there's literally mold. This is damp. You can't feel it through video, obviously, but it's always damp here, so...
It'll really be wet.
I mean, obviously it looks nice. It's like very like cleaned out.
Again, the problem that I'm going to have now is my temperature in this area is going to go back up again.
Yeah.
And before, the plants kind of shaded the concrete, and they were fine. And we're going to go on the other side of the building. The other side of the building, I only own 4 feet of it. The other part is a vacant lot. And the person that owns the vacant lot he said I can use the area because we cleaned it up from all invasive plants in order to use it. A couple of years ago when we did it, we had tables put in there. So they came and said, you can't use that property, you can't put tables in there. However, I can landscape the area. So...
How did they know that you're not just renting a portion of that property?
Because that's considered a vacant lot. That has to be rezoned. I mean, a site plan has to go on there in order
for you to use it.
The property's for sale.
Yeah.
So when the sells, then I'd have to move the stuff that's there.
Right.
They can allow it to grow back and go to weeds and everything else. That's not an issue. But me to have the plants there is an issue. And when we go over there, you're going to see we didn't put anything on tables this year. We left it all on the ground. Technically, it's almost considered landscaping because a lot of the plants their roots have started to go into the bark and stuff because we put a mulch base down to try to clean it up, so it was not too bad. Wow. And now I just got fined yesterday because we still have the plants over there. So
even though the owner of that empty lot says it's okay that you put stuff on it, the city's like, no, it's not zoned for that, so we're gonna fine you.
Right. So we're gonna go over there though, but I can landscape it with the same exact stuff and I'm okay. And the other side of the property has no windows, no doors. It's completely blocked for half of the building. This is a very long building. This is 10,000 square foot building that we have here. So half of it's blocked right to the roof line. The other half is steel for the warehouse part. So even if there was a fire and they had to get over there for some reason, there's no access to the building. So even if they said, well, we have to be able to walk there, they're not gonna walk there. They're gonna fight the fire from a ladder truck if there was a fire here, and they wouldn't be going in the building. They can't even go in and access the building there. So it doesn't make any sense to me that I can't have those plants at ground level in the trays. Basically, it's just, if I can landscape it with trees, why can't I have this? Because if there was needing access to drive back there or something,
you wouldn't be able to landscape it.
No, right. No, what I'm saying is if you wanted to drive over it, you could drive over it. If there was some type of emergency, they could drive over it without any issue.
Well, maybe, so if it's landscaped, they would just drive over the landscaping and that wouldn't be an issue, but maybe because your stuff is considered merchandise, they would be ruining your merchandise and they would be liable for it.
They wouldn't be liable because if there was an emergency, they wouldn't be liable. But what they do is they do label that as merchandise. That's the problem. They wouldn't be able to drive over landscaping if I had trees there. How are you going to drive over a tree? You'll see there's a big ass oak tree over there, and that oak tree is perfect for the plants that are there because it creates, I mean, the temperature drops, it's really shaded, it's really great for the tropical stuff. It's great for my wholesale customers that come in when we get over there. There is a wholesale customer over there now picking out stuff. It's just really easy over there, and they label it as merchandise. They don't label me as plants. Plants are good for the environment. I mean, they help with the oxygen and everything else. If they're gonna label it as merchandise, then merchandise, because I'm selling it as merchandise. But it's not tires, it's not pallets, it's not salts for water softeners, it's not eyesore type of things. It's plants that, and I'm gonna show you that when we get to this is like a highway out here. So
yeah, we can hear it.
Yeah, I think it's 6 or 8 lanes wide, between 4 lanes on each side or 3 lanes on each side. But when we go over there, you're gonna see that stay over there a minute, please. You're gonna see that it's very far away from the road, so it's not even obvious from the road, so it's not even an eyesore if they want to.
Yeah, that is true. I've like passed it, like before I like found out where you guys were, like I passed it the first couple times coming here because it just kind of all blends in, you know what I mean? Like,
so the golf cart's here, the guy's coming from next door, so let's go on the other side for a minute.
Okay.
So they can come through and
okay.
go show the